Hello my friends and welcome back to Kev's Hobby Showcase. I'm of course Kevin. You may have also seen me on Tabletop Jones Productions where John and I are the two idiots playing board games. Um, Today I'm going to be talking about the Avengers versus X-Men series from all the comics that came out in 2012. Um, it was a major storyline event at the time. I think it also came out with some little offshoot series, one of which I might be talking about in another video. It also, if I remember correctly, also kind of went into some of the individual series of the time, like the X-Men series, Avengers, and all the other individual ones. So like you know how they always do, where they put on the top they'll say like whatever storyline, and they say tie-in. It was something along the lines of that. But anyway, like I said, it was a major it was a major storyline. It did pick up from what happened after House of M, when Scarlet Witch basically uttered those infamous words, "No more mutants," and then the mutant population was decimated. So in this one, what it starts off with, because I got my notes, so I'm going to be looking at my notes. Uh, First, the first item is basically the Phoenix Force was coming to Earth. So the Avengers, they didn't want it because they knew that the last time someone was bonded with the Phoenix Force, it resulted in a lot of death and destruction. But it also is rumored to have, to spark rebirth, which is what Cyclops of the X-Men was hoping would happen. So of course that started off the whole conflict, because the two of them, because Captain America and Cyclops were both having a conversation, which quickly escalated into a fight because, of course, Captain America wanted them to help repel the Phoenix Force, where Cyclops wanted to, embrace it, and neither one would back down, because both were, felt like they were basically speaking on behalf of their part of humanity. So, you know, and so basically, that's pretty much what started the conflict, and it was. I mean, it was kind of hard to take sides because you can, I mean, at least it was for me. I could kind of see both sides of it, but it did seem that the non-mutant, superhumans weren't very sympathetic to the X-Men's plight at the time, because they kind of never really helped them, in the comics. And Cyclops actually called them out on that. He called out Captain America specifically on that, and so yeah, so that's that really kind of sparked the whole conflict, and then of course it just escalated from there. So next point is the Phoenix Force was coming for the character Hope Summers. Now Hope Summers was if you remember Messiah Complex. I'm pretty sure it was Messiah Complex, where all of a sudden there was a new mutant birth, which stunned all of them, because because after those those words, "no more mutants," I mean, there was so many mutants had lost their powers, and there was no new mutant births, so there was no new mutants coming, having their powers emerge. There was nothing. And then all of a sudden this kid is born, and they Cerebro goes nuts, and they basically rush to go to protect this kid, because they feared that, because it was a new mutant birth, that this kid would immediately be in danger, which this kid was, because because the character Cable was the one who actually saved the kid and fled into the time stream. And when he had left, it was you basically see both this kid's parents are dead. They were murdered. So yeah, so as you can see, that's why it's kind of hard to at least in the beginning, it was kind of hard to fully accept Captain America's version of how this should go. At least that's how I felt. But then when this Phoenix Force did come, instead of going to Hope Summers, because a bunch of the Avengers did try to stop it out in space, and then it kind of splintered, and what it did was, instead of all going to one host, it went to five. So those five were, of course, Cyclops, Emma Frost, Namor of Atlantis, who was found out to be a mutant, and and also the characters Magic and Colossus. So those five were basically the new hosts for the Phoenix Force. It's like they each had an equal share. So now, of course, now as time goes on, the Avengers are basically, they're freaking out. They're trying to get them to give up the power, and they're saying no, and then they start changing things, and seemingly for the better. But yeah. So as like in my notes right here, like the Phoenix Force makes things, makes the Earth better. Like they start trying to heal parts of the Earth that seem to have been like like kind of like damaged or just not very hospitable. It's just they start. It's almost like they're trying to build a utopia on the whole planet. But of course, yeah. So basically, the Avengers they came for Hope because they knew that she was supposed to be the one that was going to have the Phoenix Force originally, and so basically, when they come for her, and the whole thing goes down. Of course, this angered the X-Men, specifically Scott Summers, who is, of course, Cyclops, who then says, from now on, no more Avengers, and then they start hunting them down. Eventually they start, if you're hearing cackling, that's my son upstairs. Sorry about that. So now they basically start taking Avengers as prisoners. And what this prison actually was, because for anybody who reads the X-Men comics, you know that the character Magic also is kind of like I mean, I don't know if she's still considered a leader of the dimension called Limbo, which is like a version of Hell. But she is definitely connected to it, and of course she's a teleporter. So she started bringing parts of Limbo to Earth, and that's where she that's where she was having the Avengers held. Which is which when they found out about it, they were very very upset, as you can imagine. So then of course this doesn't it doesn't end here because they're taking Avengers captive, and so now each of them like they got like the part of a power of a god basically. So it just keeps on escalating from there. So what happens? Namor attacks Wakanda because the more we find out, the more we you read with Black Panther and Namor, you find out that there's friction between those two nations, between Wakanda and Atlantis. And so he goes out basically to he goes out and he attacks Wakanda, and of course the Avengers defend him, and they eventually defeat him. When they do defeat him, you can see his portion of the Phoenix Force exits his body and disperses amongst the other four that are left. So now it's like when you're reading this, you're like, ooh. I was like, oh, that's interesting, because now you can see that as each one gets will get defeated, the Phoenix Force will just leave and go to the others, whoever's left, seemingly to until there's only one left. So so they basically the Avengers had at this point mounted a rescue mission to get their captured comrades out of this prison, this hellish prison. And so what happens is you have Spider-Man, who basically he saw that they needed a distraction. They needed to because they had two that were guarding them. It was Magic and Colossus. So he attacks them both and gets the living crap kicked out of him. I mean, they basically it's like they show him getting hit in the face, and then he's like saying, "Why does my mask feel wet and sticky?" And it's because he's bleeding into it. So it's and this actually doesn't happen until like issue 9, because it was weird because the whole buildup of the Phoenix Force coming to Earth was actually through almost half of the series. The series is a 12-issue series, and you don't even see the five emerge as hosts of the Phoenix until like around issue 5 or 6. I forget exactly which one because I didn't write it down. I probably should have. So anyway, getting back to what I was saying is that so then of course now it's like as he's attacking Magic and Colossus, he eventually does defeat him or distract them enough that the Phoenix Force leaves the two of them. And Oh, and then of course, sorry, I know I keep glancing down. That's where I have my notes. I probably should have prepared a little better for this, but sorry about that. Anyway, so one thing that that the writers and the artists did reveal is that as each of the others get more power, the power corrupts because then they start thinking, well, I can do whatever the hell I want. Which is eventually so now at this point because like the Phoenix Force left Magic and Colossus, and during the fight the two of them were basically almost saying that it would be better just to kill them all and be done with it. So and that's not what they would normally want to do. So yeah, so it's basically you could tell that the power is starting to corrupt, and so now what's left is you got Cyclops and Emma Frost, and the two of them are pretty much well. So you got Emma Frost. Actually, she was kind of having turmoil throughout the whole thing, like saying trying to saying like she would think something pretty dark and then say wait no no no, but Cyclops was he just kept on turning everything to the survival of mutants, and kind of like didn't really show any didn't really show any signs of him saying wait maybe I shouldn't be thinking this. So so what eventually happens is because Cyclops feels like he's fighting for the entire mutant race, what does he do? He takes the whole Phoenix Force onto himself. And when because I was rereading this a couple of days ago, so so of course now everything always escalates into a fight because when you're that powerful, you're not listening to anybody. You're just thinking that whatever you're doing is the right thing to do, and you just keep going. So what happens is he gets into a fight. I believe it was with Wolverine, and there was a point where you could see kind of like Scott Summers emerge saying, "Please kill me," because like he's basically now kind of now just realizing he can't stop. He can't stop himself. So they eventually do defeat Cyclops, and the Phoenix Force leaves. I mean, actually, yeah, it leaves and it goes to Hope Summers, and she winds up giving it up willingly. Although in the beginning she did kind of start to get a little bit corrupted, where it's like looked like she wasn't maybe going to give it up willingly, but then she wound up doing that. But so and I know I'm giving a very brief synopsis of the whole thing, and there's a lot of stuff that's in those comics, which is why I always say when I make these types of videos, please in the comment section, bring up anything that maybe I didn't bring up because I didn't think it was like that important or not as important as what I have said in the video. Also, it's like I try not to give I know I kind of did a retelling of the entire series, but I tried to keep it like really really brief because otherwise I could be sitting here for over an hour, retelling the entire thing, line by line, which is not. I'm not going to do that. Excuse me. Sorry, had an itch. So anyway, so I mean, so really, like the last point I have here is like in the aftermath, new mutants start to emerge. It's like people all of a sudden start developing powers, and so kind of what Cyclops was hoping for, and at the very end he had he was like in a prison. He was talking with Captain America, and he was kind of commenting saying, "I was right, because new mutants are now emerging. So I was right. The Phoenix was coming to give rebirth to the mutant race." So it's like so you can have a whole philosophical and moral argument about this entire series, because on the one hand, you got this godlike force coming, and basically what it does is it takes a host, and then so it's like not everybody can handle that much power, and usually, and of course in the comics, it wouldn't be good storytelling if they had the person just be like the good deity and just make everybody happy, and cause, read that you can fall asleep within 2 minutes. So anyway, yeah, so you got that part about it. You got this godlike power, and then it's like, okay, who should wield the power? Will it corrupt them? It's all these different questions to ask, and it's like like I said, you can start a whole moral thing. I mean, for anybody who reads the comics, you can argue who would have been a better host, who would have been better off taking the power. or with the, should the power have even come to Earth at all? I mean, there's a lot you could say. Because so Avengers versus X-Men, I would recommend to anybody who enjoys Marvel comics. Excuse me. Especially if you enjoy any of the X-Men comics, any of the Avengers comics, I would definitely recommend this. It's a very good read. Like I said, I had taken I was like off for a day, so I had taken the whole. It didn't even take me the whole day. I just reread the entire thing. The trade paperback I think is the equivalent of like 13 or 14 issues. So that's how much it kept my interest. I was able to read through it for the entire, like, in the course of a day, with and still had plenty of time to write down all my notes. But yeah, it's a good read. I would definitely recommend it. And as always, like I said in the comics session, I will have it on. If you have questions, if you have suggestions about like maybe points that I didn't bring up that maybe were very relevant. If you have any arguments, listen. I would love to debate, anything about this. If you have questions about it, if you haven't read it, definitely I would suggest reading it. If you can get your hands on a copy. So actually, since I do have, I'm gonna see if I can find it on Amazon, and I'll have the link in the description of this video, or if you're picking this up from social media, I'll have it in the description there. So anyway, so just give it a chance, give it a try. It is before some of the more recent major events, so just realize that what you're reading now, it's not going to really be too relevant to it, but it was very relevant back in 2012 when all those major events were happening then. I think this may have also been before Secret Wars, the last one. So yeah, it's definitely worth the read. All right, so anyway, that's what I have for today. I know these videos are pretty short when I do the comic when I talk about comics. I try not to keep those too long. Just so that I can give everybody a chance to chime in, and feel like we can start a conversation. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you did enjoy this. I hope you found it informative. I hope it inspired you to actually read the series. And like I said, it says talk to me in the chat section, and we'll try to spark up a conversation about this, or even if any of you want to talk amongst each other. It's all good. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please go to Tabletop Jones Productions. Do the same there. Follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, and I almost said Twitter. Twitter's now X, and TikTok. So you can find us there. I'll try to post maybe some pictures of some of the issues, on social media, and just have a great day. And I will talk with you again. Read as many comics as you can. All right. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again.